My name's Susan Shopek, and this is exciting to have you here for the Seven Rays Study Group, and we'll meet for 3 Thursday nights in a row. And you probably know that each night is a standalone, so a person can attend one or all. If a person can only attend the second or third Thursday, that's fine. So just know that in case you have friends who are interested or know of others, they can join in at any Thursday. The official title, I believe, if I'm looking at this flyer, so the Seven Rays, divine emanations from source, light and frequency, building blocks of all creation. So that's our topic. And this is sponsored by the Minneapolis Theosophical Society, and I just want to read you our mission statement. Our mission is to encourage open-minded inquiry into world religions, philosophy, science, and the arts in order to understand the wisdom of the ages, respect the unity of all life, and help people explore spiritual self-transformation. And if you aren't on our mailing list, I invite you to sign up for that. And I know in the chat, there's a link to our website. And I believe that's the main way to sign up. I see a thumbs up from Hope, correct? So please sign up to receive our email notices if you're not on the list. And during these pandemic times, we've been meeting on Zoom now for some time. And when we do meet in person, we meet at the Griggs Building in St. Paul. For now, we continue to meet over Zoom, but there is some talk about when some of the in-person meetings may open up, and perhaps some of them will be hybrid, but we will keep you posted. And of course, during these Zoom times, and it's so wonderful to be able to connect with members and people from other locations and states. So we know we will continue to offer many things through Zoom too, because the geographical boundaries are no more. So this is wonderful that way. So I also want to invite you to join us for our Monday programs, which are the second and fourth Monday of each month. Usually we have live speakers over Zoom, and we also have videos and discussions. So you'll receive all kinds of information about those if you sign up for the mailing list. And I don't think it's too soon to begin to mention our summer picnic, which is sort of a big event. And last year, it didn't happen, last August. So just know, even though it's March, just to have a little, seed planted that you're all invited to our summer picnic. So for tonight, we'll meet from 7 to 8:30, and feel free to take a break whenever you want, but please mute yourself if you do take a break. And each week you'll receive a reminder email with the Zoom link. But it's true that the same Zoom link is for all 3 meetings, correct? But you'll also receive a reminder email too. And tonight we have several of our board members present and who have been planning this study group tonight. I'm a member of the board, as well as Berta Gilsdorf. If you could just raise your hand, yeah, or wave. Erica Kovit, she's our presenter tonight. Von Brashler, and he's our discussion leader tonight. Hope Scholes, and let's see, Paul Gilsdorf is our current board president. So let's see. So each week we will have a different presenter, and followed by discussion and sharing of ideas. And As I mentioned, Erica is our presenter tonight. Berta will be next week and Bon the third week. And it's really wonderful if you are able to send a donation, we really appreciate it. And there is a link in the chat to, there's a button that you can donate through. So we really appreciate that. Even though we're on Zoom, we still have rent and other expenses. So if you're able. Yes, Berta.
There's also a physical address in there if you would like to
Okay.
check.
There's also a physical address if you prefer a check in the chat. All right, I'm almost done with our, preliminary announcements. And this first night, of course, we have a few more details to go over. Well, that's pretty much it. I'm not going to, you have read the flyer, so you know the gist of what the description has been about for this group. And I think right now we should just do some introductions to connect a little bit more with one another and have a little bit of sharing. So what we'll do is introduce ourselves, and then if you could think of a word, just spontaneously, a word that describes yourself at a soul level, anything that comes to mind. You don't have to think about it. If you could spontaneously, let's say you knew that the answer and you spontaneously could name what that is, please do so. And if you choose not to do that, just please name a color that you resonate with. Okay. So it's just a way to connect. And why don't we start with some of our board members? And just unmute yourself.
Since I'm unmuted, I can go first for that. Although I have no idea what word I would use. I'm Erica Kobut, presenting tonight, which is really exciting. The only word I keep hearing timeless, and I'm not sure if it's because I'm timeless or I can't get a grasp on time. So it's like floating through the void right now. So there, that's my little teeny tiny nutshell.
Okay. Thanks.
I can go next. I would say change agent. That's 2 words, but my soul is a change agent.
Thanks. Yeah, it can be a couple words of, whatever strikes you.
I'll go.
Berta.
Pine bear. And
Say
my color is pine bear, and my color is magenta.
Ooh.
I'll go next. I'll just say, picking up on what's been said, I'm an agent being changed. And let it go.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I'm writing these down.
All right.
Only for our just confidential notes here, but who knows? I don't know, maybe it'll have meaning to us as we meet, so that's why I'm writing it down. Oh,
I'll go. Paul, I want to say curious, but I think I just made that up, but a bit coming. And I've been attracted to the color orange of late. So orange or yellow, that end of things.
Or yellow, huh?
I'll go. My name is Jennifer, and the first thing that popped into my mind was galactic, and my favorite color is purple.
Oh, go ahead, Paul.
So will people need to unmute themselves?
Yeah, make sure you unmute yourself to speak, please.
Okay, my name's Paula, and I found out about the Theosophical Society through Spirit United several years ago, and I guess I would call myself a seeker, And the color would be lavender.
Nice. I can go. The first word that came to me is flame. It has a little more meaning around that, but I'll just say flame. And then the other big one is rose, and that has special meaning to me as well, so.
I'll go. My name is Joe. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Are they unmuted? Okay. My name is Joe. I know Erica, and I saw posted on her Facebook about this talk, and it sounded like something I would be very interested in. I know she's a good reference point for juicy information. So, and first word that came to mind was open, and color is a royal blue.
Thanks.
I'll go. Hi, everyone. My name is Eva. As I put in the chat that I'm with the Milwaukee TS Lodge, and I've kind of stepped in, I'd say around October of last year, so not quite a year. Our president, Kathleen Newman, which some of you may know, is kind of in the process of stepping back a little bit from some of her responsibilities. One of the challenges that I'm kind of facing is a declining membership. So I'm looking at how to bring people in. We've had some success with our posting on social media on our meetup, as well as Facebook. And the schedule that I've currently created with Kathleen through June, and then we're probably going to break for summer, but twice a month we're meeting on Wednesdays, the 1st and 3rd at 7 p.m. And the pattern is the first Wednesday with a national speaker, and then the second one focused on different people offering meditative styles. So if anybody is interested in leading a group meditation, so people get kind of an experience of some different techniques and styles, certainly open to any. I'm open to any and all suggestions that you may have from your experiences. So at a soul level, the word that came to me was calm. And admittedly, that doesn't always match my personality level. But the color that came to mind resonating with the color blue. Glad to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Who else?
Joan, I think you should go ahead.
Okay. Okay. My name's Joan Hay. I'm with the Charleston Theosophical Studies Center in South Carolina. And I've attended one of your lectures before, and it was so interesting. I guess the word that describes me is interested in all metaphysical subjects. And my favorite color is purple.
I could go next. I'm Vaughn. I live on a little island near British Columbia, I guess. And I guess my color is yellow. And I guess my word is consciousness.
Okay.
Okay, I'm Kaylee. And yeah, I'm just beginning to explore all these different realms. So the first word that came to me was great. Believe me, I so it must be my soul anyway. And the color pink occurred to me too. So it's nice to meet all of you. I too want to spread my wings, so to meet some new people and with this like-minded stuff. And I am interested in all that. I've been painting these Ukrainian eggs for a long time.
Oh.
And I just want to keep spreading the word, and I'm just learning how to do it. Each one tells a story. Women told, men went to the caves, and women told stories with pictures on eggs. So I'm just spreading the word about
so
what a
wonderful.
beautiful art, folk art that it is. And
Mm.
each one tells a story. So
Oh, beautiful.
Where are you, Kaylee? Did you say?
I'm in Fargo, North Dakota.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, and it's such a small community. I need more people, you know.
You found us. You found us. Congratulations. Welcome. I am from way north of there originally, so I understand how isolating Fargo can be. Blessings that you found us. Please come back.
Okay.
Look at our
You're
website,
our
check
neighbor.
out our stuff. Yeah.
Lots of
You're a neighbor.
connections with Fargo in Minneapolis. My husband here, Paul, went to school there. And so,
Oh.
we're all, he's from Dickinson, a little
Sure.
smaller and farther out.
Oh yeah, they know about you
Wow.
too. Mhm.
Welcome. Welcome,
Thank you.
everybody.
And I just received my membership, my the thing
International?
for Theosophy. So
Yeah. Oh, good. And so
yeah, diploma or something.
you mean from the national?
Yeah.
Okay. So that
You'll have-
would be a
you'll have
good
to-
time. Oh, go ahead,
Well, sorry, I
Jenna.
was gonna say, I would just wanted to, we're scheming to go for a road trip down to the National Center in Illinois, right? Is that where it is? Like,
For
at
the
some
fest.
point.
Yeah, the fest.
For the
There's
for the
fest in
fest, you'll have to
September.
come across and then join us for the road trip.
Mhm.
Yeah.
In September.
Yep.
And
Great.
And Kaylee, what you said would be a good time to just mention that anytime if somebody joins the national organization, that automatically can make you a member of our Minneapolis Lodge if you're interested.
Okay.
So we'd want to know that to include you in.
Okay. Well, you'll have to include me then because I have my diploma.
Include you in our membership. So
Thank you.
thank you. I
I
think
just
everybody,
added the link.
did everybody speak?
I just added the link for the Theosophical Fest.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, in September. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Everybody had a chance to say something? Okay, great. And so let us continue with our program. And I'd like to introduce Erica Kobet as our first presenter tonight. And Erica, thank you so much. And once Erica's presentation is concluded, we will have discussion.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you, everyone. It's just really wonderful, too. I want to say just wonderful having people from all over the place, too. It's kind of exciting. And it's interesting for me to be in front of people this way. It is a difficult thing, I think, and that's our challenge with Zoom. Like, okay, I'll just jump in here because I'm just a little bit nervous. This is my first time doing a presentation like this. So we're just going to go ahead and dive into the 7 rays. And I am going to be accessing my notes, just so you know, if I'm not always looking up at the screen. But so the 7 rays are the 7 rays of energy that emanate from the solar logos. And I had to do some research because I wasn't even sure what the solar logos was. But the solar logos, from what I understand, is like the soul of the sun, of our solar system. And it is the soul that oversees all. And these beautiful rays emanate from the sun in much like light through a prism. I'm going to go back into my notes before I digress too much. So Helena Blavatsky mentions them in her book. If you first slide thing, yeah. So we've got some quotes here. Sounds and colors are all spiritual numerals. Go back to the other one. There we go. Wait.
Left arrow. There we go.
There we go. Okay. I also have it in my notes, and as the 7 prismatic rays proceed from one spot in heaven, so the 7 powers of nature, each of them a number, are the 7 radiations of the unity, the central, the spiritual sun. And that comes from Isis Unveiled. The second quote is from The Secret Doctrine. And she says, space and time are one. Space and time are nameless, for they are the incognizable that, and I believe that which is, which can be sensed only through its 7 rays, which are the 7 creations, the 7 worlds, the 7 laws. So when you do your own research, you'll find many books and articles with their interpretations of the rays that are all very similar, and each a little different. So tonight, what I want to do is talk a little bit about the rays and then have you experience a little bit about each ray, and we'll do it's a little bit like a meditation, but not a very deep or long one. So as you ponder the rays, please remember that all these rays are within each one of us. And this is here why we find the reason to study them. They are a part of us. It is our task to undertake them and work with them so that they are balanced within us. In each ray, there is potential to be a positive force or a negative force. Thus, we are all also here to learn discernment, as with all things. So one of the videos that is a really wonderful video to watch is John Algeo. He's a longtime teacher of theosophy and a student of theosophy. He's also, I believe, a university professor in English. But he says the 7 rays are the 7 primordial forces in the universe, energies in the universe, which combined brings all things into existence. So this, all of the rays are in all of us and all things in the universe, including us, the animals, the plants and minerals in our world. The rays shine forth from all things. They are often pictured metaphorically as rays of the rainbow or spectrum of light, as white light shines through a prism and divides into the 7 colors. But rays are not the colors themselves. We kind of use the colors as a, maybe I like to use the word touch point. They're kind of something where we can kind of keep track of them, organize them in our minds. But it is said that our soul is on a particular ray until all lessons are complete, and then we move to the next ray. So if you think of our soul as is the higher self, the soul, and then we have our personality self. Our personality is kind of the ego, the filter through which we experience life. But when you go to that source within, that being within you, it's the higher self. So the rays can be, you can have 2 separate rays, your main ray of your soul ray, and then your second ray for this lifetime is your personality ray. So the ray that our soul vibrates to is called the soul ray, and then of course the personality ray. So the rays radiate forth from the solar logos, and you can say it's the soul of our beautiful star, also known as the sun. They radiate forth as the higher awareness of the sun, as the 7 divine rays, each with a trait or aspect for which our soul aligns. A friend has said, each ray is a tender, loving path for our own soul to join with, to shine through so that we can experience this human life with purpose. Love and wisdom guides all, but each ray is much like a specialized vibration of the ray for which we experience lessons and events and grow and participate fully in life on a mundane and on a higher level if we so choose. With the aspects, there are also qualities, described as qualities. There's often associated a color, kind of mentioned that with the light through a prism, but color was not originally in the original information about the rays. It's kind of been added in, but like I said, it's still a good touch point, and we will focus from a little bit from the color as well. So why do we study the rays? For me, I gain an inner awareness of understanding of myself and others around me. By looking at these aspects, we can see them within ourselves. We can consider our strengths and also the weaknesses. It is not about lessening a strength, but strengthening a deficiency. And this is reminds me of Chinese medicine, where if you have an excess, you might bring that down, but if you have a deficiency, you want to raise it up to balance. So the whole idea is that we want to be balanced with all the rays. So the other thing is, as we talk about the rays, please don't get hung up on thinking about which ray am I, because all rays are in all people. It's kind of like sometimes we get hung up on our astrological sign, yet there's so much more than just one astrological sign that affects our personality. So the ray that our soul is always a part of is much like a drop of water in the ocean. We're all a part of a larger ray. And then the personality ray is like the ray of this lifetime, the ray that we are here to learn through in this life experience. And then that we're not even limited to that ray. That's just sort of the main one that sort of anchors us in for this lifetime. So I'm going to use descriptions of the qualities from different writers. There's also, I have references if anyone needs them. I have a list of some of my references, I should say. So, so these are kind of the description of the rays in their more of their purest forms. They are always can be blended with other rays. So the first ray is the ray of will, and also the ray of power, of choice, of freedom. It is associated with the color of red, and we can go ahead and put the red slide up because it's an awesome picture. Yeah, that to me, that really did kind of represent will and power. This is the ray that drives the evolutionary process of mankind forward as a whole, as a humanity. And this ray is the one that can create the new through destruction of the old. Sometimes it's referred to as a destroyer ray, but it is with purpose, there's that reason behind it, that to bring about new growth. So with the individual, there's a strong sense of self-worth, a sense of innate dignity. They rely on no one for approval. They understand their own divinity and purpose. Their characteristics of purposefulness, fearlessness, and directness is also where you will find explorers and innovators, heroes, and also rulers. So with this first ray of will, it's not about arrogance, it's not about narcissism, it's about this innate knowing that you have purpose and power in your beingness. So what I would like to do is just do a little meditation on this, just to consider these within us. I'm going to close my eyes, and if you'd like, you can as well. Take a nice breath. And just relax for a moment and still your mind. And maybe bring that color of red into your thoughts and feel the word will. Without judgment, without any of our filters, just what does will feel like? What does power feel like? What does this courage feel like? That self-worth, that sense of you are here now. It is the I am. And that is the first ray. So let's come back and move to the second ray. And
Bert, I
I
think you can just hit the right arrow on the keyboard.
There you go. And I just thought the color of this ray is blue, and I believe it's supposed to be royal blue, but the dolphins just look so happy. I had to use this picture. So it's the ray of compassion. It is the ray also of some other notes here. Hodgson calls it the ray of love, wisdom, and Algeo calls it the ray of compassion. So this is the ray of universal love. The characteristics of this ray are, of course, compassion, as we said, but also tenderness and a deep sympathy. This is also the ray of universal love, oneness with others. And this is where you will find natural born healers and teachers and humanitarians. This is also the mediator, perhaps that person that always wants to see all sides, to bring everyone together. It is the builder and the harmonizer. And these are the people that work from their heart chakra. They have a desire to help the divine unfold. It is the ray also of philanthropy. So let's close our eyes once again and bring in this beautiful blue with smiling dolphins, if you wish, and feel this connection to compassion. And this is compassion for yourself as much as other people. Feel this universal love within yourself, for yourself, as a part of this beautiful primordial second ray. And come on back, take a nice breath. And we move to the third ray. And the third ray's color is green. And you can choose which green you like. I just love this. This is a picture of Scotland, by the way. I think it's beautiful. The third ray is the ray of active intelligence, also referred to as the ray of wisdom or creative ideas. John Algeo says this ray involves the progress to perfection. The wisdom applies to everyday affairs as in something you live. It is purpose and humaneness. Gwendolyn Reese says it's about the interest in the world of things. This is the ray of thought as well. What's going on out there, that desire to know what's going on. But it's also how those things affect consciousness. It is the ray of philosophy, grasping for meaning and understanding rather than actually knowing, wanting to dive, what I would say, dive deeper. Yes, I think a lot of people, those of us that love to come together and talk and share ideas, are functioning on the third ray together as a group, perhaps at this moment. So let's consider this beautiful green for a moment and take a deep breath. And think of the ray of wisdom. This is active intelligence, of creative thought. And take a nice breath. And we'll move to the fourth ray. The fourth ray, well, before I go on, one of the ways people work with these 7 rays is the 3 above, and then the fourth ray is the balance or harmony, and then there are the next 3 rays, which could be the 3 below, so that the 3 above are more of the spiritual aspects of each of the rays, connecting to the spiritual world, and the lower 3, not lesser, but just on a different level, they are the 3 aspects of that reflect the rays that are more in this physical world. So the fourth ray is the ray that unifies all the rays. It is called the ray of harmony, and sometimes also the ray of harmony through conflict. It is a ray of balance, a ray that can bring all the rays together for balance. Yes, this is the ray of balance of the physical world and the spiritual world. It's the balance of the internal world and the external world. I like to think of the phrase we often say, as above, so below, as below, so above. When all is in harmony, beauty appears. Art is created. And you can also say that this ray's power is imagination. So let's take a moment and think of yellow and harmony and balance of the spiritual and the physical, the interior, the internal, and the exterior, the esoteric and the esoteric. I think I forgot the word. That's okay. So the fifth ray is the ray of knowledge. Its color is orange, but this has such beautiful varying degrees of orange. I had to use this. It is the ray of knowledge, where the second ray was the ray of wisdom. This is the ray of innate knowing. This is the ray of knowledge, of seeking knowledge. It's the ray of science, of math, of things, of the analytical mind. Concrete knowledge is another way to describe that as well. It's the mind with which we use to figure things out. Here is the mind for research, for testing, and technology, often engineers, and those people who search out things. They want the facts. They want to be able to analyze and figure things out and how they work. So it is much like that, a mirror of the ray of higher thinking brought into the physical. So if we take a moment to go into, to close our eyes and take a breath and go into orange, feel orange, and the science, if you feel science, that concrete, to me, it almost feels a heaviness in my body. It's like this, when you say concrete knowledge, it's that knowledge that anchors you to the physical, to the ground. Then we move on to sixth ray, is the ray of devotion. It's the ray of passion, which mirrors compassion in the higher rays. The colors associated with this ray can be either silvery rose or light blue. And we have beautiful cherry blossoms on a beautiful light blue sky. I thought that, and the beautiful beam of the sunshine is just beautiful. I'm sorry, I really love these pictures. So it is the ray of passion, and I guess that's what that kind of brings up. It's the ray of fiery enthusiasm and the ray of sacrificial love. It is the ray of dedication and obedience and hierarchy. This can be dedication or devotion to a religion or a guru or even a soldier's obedience to his military group. It also can be dedication to a job or a company following the corporate higher-ups. Sixth ray is also slow to change, which we can possibly see in our daily and global manifestations around us. This ray mirrors the second ray of wisdom. And also, this is the ray of passion and compassion. I think I might have layered that over on the fifth ray, which fifth ray actually mirrors wisdom. But for this ray of devotion, and I'm going to talk about the weaknesses after we go through these, then I'm going to go through the weaknesses of each ray, because you can kind of see where they're heading. If there's too much devotion, too much passion about something, it can become very zealous type of behavior. So there's the inner deep compassion for spirit or soul and the outwardly passion of devotion. So let's take a moment to just go into that beautiful pink blue balance and feel what passion or devotion feels like. It doesn't have to be attached to anything. Just imagine that when he says fiery enthusiasm, I also hear the word fierceness. There can be a fierceness to that devotion, which also is very emotional and also, I think, anchors us very much to the physical world as well. So take a nice breath and we'll go on to the seventh ray. It is associated with indigo blue. It is the ray of order, of organization. It is the ray of form or path or ordered activity. It is the ray of ceremonial order and ritual. This can be traditional ceremony, etiquette, things done in a ritualistic manner, ordinary things that become a precise pattern. And it's much like the Japanese tea ceremony that is very precise and organized and it turned into a ritual. So it's also building things in a precise pattern. Algeo mentions again Freemasonry as building skills in a ritual manner. It's power in action, in grace, precision, and skill. Also, this is the ray of pageantry, such as royalty or knighthood. And the producer of plays and movies, you can see that pageantry in movies and plays. And thinking of the royalty, just the entire pageantry of crowning the monarch. It's all very much ceremony and organized ritual. It's also the ray of ceremonial magic and the perfectionist who has to have things done in a specific order or fashion or ritual. So this is taking the first ray of will and power and directing it in a contained fashion, creating order and organization. So that's how the first ray and seventh ray can mirror each other. So let's just take a moment and consider the indigo of the seventh ray. if it's order of order and organization and form, what does that feel like? Where the first ray felt like power and freedom bursting out with the red lion. And this is the container to take that power and form and contain it so in a fashion so it can be directed in a specific way to create a specific thing or purpose or building or event. So going on to talking about aspects of and their deficiencies. Often it's said weaknesses, not necessarily a weakness, but just not enough of it to, that's a weakness. Okay. Weaknesses or deficiencies, they are pretty much the same thing. So this is a way to look at the rays to see what we are deficient in so that we can work on them to bring them up so we can balance all 7 of the rays, not just 2 that are opposed. So for example, the first ray of will and power, as you might guess, can become the excess of power or will. This can be seen in the dictator or the tyrant, whether it be of a country or a corporation. And also if there's a lack of compassion of the second ray, there is a coldness and a lack of sympathy for others. This person would work on developing that second ray to bring the first to balance, not necessarily decreasing will and power, but bringing up compassion so that they are balanced, so that they can use that power with compassion. So perhaps working on aspects of compassion and loving kindness, although not an easy task for them, I imagine, but it would help to bring about that balance. So in the second ray, the weakness can actually show up as a dominance, as in leading to doing too much for others. You care so much for someone that you don't want them to suffer. For example, children. You love for a child could be so strong that the parent continually protects their child and accidentally cultivates a helplessness in them. So it's an excess of the second ray. There's also a danger of developing sentimentality, which I think is more of the weakness of that ray, of dwelling on the pain of others and not doing anything about the causes. I also think this might be where sometimes for the individual, sentimentality causes us to not let go of old things or lessons. I didn't find this anywhere in the material, but I really feel like this is where we have a difficulty in letting go of the old to create the new, which can be reflected eventually in holding on to too many things, whether it's ideas or thoughts or things around us. And this is where the first ray of will can come in and use that first ray to destroy the old to create the new. So this is a balance, a way to help balance first and ray together. So the third ray, people can fall into a fear if they rely predominantly on thought or thinking. Because sometimes when they don't understand something yet, it frightens them. So they have more of a reaction than a response. So for them, they need to gather that information, that knowledge, so that they can understand it. If there's a deficiency of the second ray of love, wisdom, in a person of the third ray, it can lead to a coldness and a selfishness and an aloofness to the world with a desire to live in their thoughts alone, which I imagine I've been there at times. I think that's when you realize the third ray is really kind of taken over, perhaps, and too much thought, or for example, throwing yourself into your studies and not balancing it with the other rays. So if there's a deficiency in the first ray of will with the third ray, there can be great indecision from seeing too many sides and not having the strength to choose an option is another. So the fourth ray, because they can be balanced in all the rays, they can actually be pulled in several different directions at one time. But they have such a strong imagination, they can be pulled into what was called flights of fancy, which I would call it daydreaming, and therefore might not get much done in the outer real world. This is where strengthening in the first or seventh ray is recommended. It is also said that they can be more emotional. Hudson called it the alternation of moods or the artist temperament. And I believe his talk was from maybe the 1940s, perhaps. And he didn't really go into what alternation of moods or the artist temperaments were. But I think it's, he did say that Hatha Yoga can help balance the inner and outer worlds, the physical and spiritual, that this ray is the balancer of. That also might have been Gwendolyn Reese saying that as well about Hatha Yoga. So the fifth ray of science and knowledge, and over the weakness in that can become a rigid, they can become rigid. If there's an excess, they can become rigid and have a false will. They can become self-centered and prideful. They can be overly critical of others, or they can have a narrowness of vision or skepticism that emphasizes the negative if they are deficient in the second ray of love and wisdom. There can also be a lack of appreciation for the greater purpose of life with an overly materialistic view. So they get too anchored into that science and needing that hard information and forget about the world around them. Sixth ray of passion and devotion. The most obvious of the weaknesses of this ray could be a blind devotion to personalities. They can fall into over emotion, to impulsiveness, and a one-pointedness that can lead to intolerance. Blind obedience without question, where possibility, the ray of love wisdom should be called upon to help balance that out. The seventh ray of order and organization tend to love perfection, and it can be to a fault. They love formality, the power, and it's the power that plays politics, maneuvering themselves into positions of prestige and power. And remember, they love pageantry and pomp. I would suggest they can create the illusion of importance through use of displays of power and pageantry. And we see that in people and in we see it in many forms around us. This can even be within corporate structures, and it can also be within families. And on an individual level, perhaps the over-organizer, the obsessive compulsion to keep things perfectly organized would benefit from maybe first-ray work for self-acceptance or second-ray work for compassion. For the self might be need help for the self. Okay, compassion for the self, and that might be help to balance. I did not find anything anywhere that says obsessive compulsion to keep things perfectly organized mentioned anywhere, but I imagine this would be where a weakness would fall under order and organization. The desire to control too hard, too tightly. So those are the rays and some of their weaknesses. There's so much more information there. I kind of went with the basics. So, and I think this is a good starting point for discussion if we are ready for that.
Great, thank you, Erica. So, what do you think? I mean, can you now see that we are very complicated children of light? We are absorbing all of these rays. We are channeling these rays. We are manifesting them, projecting them out in our own lives and to others. And it is a balance of all of these rays within us. So as Erica suggested, we're more than just one ray, even on a soul level or on a personality level in this life. And what do you all think of this great balancing act, absorbing all of these rays? Do you have any comments on what you've heard? It's a wonderful introduction, Erica.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
You know, I'm struck, with thinking of colors, and in planning this, we observed that not everybody has the same color chart. I mean, Erica's definition of the colors is probably as spot on as you'll find. There are some variations, and it's like the assignment of colors to rays, but you think that all of these colors and all of these light properties and all of these rays are really encapsulated in the one ray of creation. The light that shines down is white light. White light contains all of these basic primary colors, So if you're absorbing, I know some of you probably are familiar with, as I am, with energy healing, and people say, well, I want you to project a certain color of light. Now, all of these colors and all of these rays probably have their own frequency, their own vibrations. They all have different properties on many levels, magical, and metaphysical, very real variations in their vibrational quotient. But in absorbing white light, in absorbing the light that we all see coming down to us as white light, we're getting all 7 rays. Every one of these rays is going through every one of us and having an impact, Any comments on this?
I'll just kind of open up here. As I was studying for this, I could see a lot of myself in each ray, or I could see the rays in myself in a lot of ways, but there were some that were more than others.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to come across a description of myself, especially, I believe it was in the 4th ray.
Yeah.
The daydreaming and therefore not getting much done in the real world. So for me, it's kind of 3rd ray, because I love to write and I love to sit and I channel, and I can sit at the computer for hours and write.
Yeah.
And then I go back and read it and go, who's going to read this? But it's like this, I get pulled into this world, and so it's trying to balance, that 4th ray. The 4th ray seems pretty strong. The 3rd ray seems pretty strong, and I dabble in science and all these different things, but my will, I think the 1st ray is kind of a little bit, maybe a little weak, because I think, like all of us, sometimes we fall into this, we get so critical of ourselves that we just beat our own self-worth down. So it's like, oh, I don't have any 1st ray in me at all. I'm dirt, that kind of thing. So we have a tendency to judge ourselves anyway, but it's interesting to be able to put it in a ray and say, oh, this is kind of 1st ray. How can I bring that 1st ray, take that breath, pause, surround myself in that red light and go, I am will, I have that within me.
Yeah, all of that power, all of
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
leadership
And you can do it
quality.
with any of the rays, with any of the aspects.
Yeah, you know, I guess I'm like you. I think, well, you know, this is my ray. No, this is my ray. You know, it's like we're all a composite of all of these rays, and as we become more evolved as people, spiritually evolved, the trick is to manifest all of these qualities and identify and channel all of these very powerful primordial rays in us, you know, and there are no bad rays. There are no bad rays. You know, you'll see some of these descriptions of rays. You say, well, this is not a very spiritually evolved person with this ray. You know, it's like, well, you know, that's kind of a biased approach. You know, all of these rays are extremely important, and you know, it is our challenge to experience all of these rays and to use the energy of each one of them. I mean, this is very intelligent energy we're given here. It pours down with incessant love and mercy from the heavens above, you know. So, I mean, I guess I'm curious, you know, the people who are with us tonight in the study group, you know, whether some people feel like they can absolutely identify their ray, or if others of you say, well, I can't say I'm probably 3 or 4 of these rays. Certainly 2 or 3. Yeah.
Yeah, I and I'm just trying to put this in context. What we're, as we're reading these, and I kept saying, me, question mark, you know,
Yeah.
dad, question mark, you know. but what we're talking about is our personality ray, probably, because that's what is resonating with us at this level. My question is, well, I've got 2 questions. One is, I suppose it's possible in meditation, but how would we try to identify our soul ray?
Yeah.
And are these rays, am I to understand that these rays are just from our sun logos, or is this a universal thing beyond our sun?
It's a good point. You know, I mean, most of the literature talks about emanating from the solar logos, but then the solar logos is described as a universal creation, point of source of creation, you know.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think when they first came up with this, you know, our universe was our solar system. So, you know,
It goes back into ancient India.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and further back, so that they may not have had the understanding of the multitude of things in the universe yet.
So it's the source, like source, emanating from source, which all of the
Emanating
universes
from
are
source.
from. Yeah,
Yeah.
got it.
So
So how would we discover our soul ray? Is this
Soul ray.
tied to astrology?
Well, you know, this would be, you know, one way I think would be to go deep within. In theosophy, we talk about going deep within, you know, your inner self, your soul self, your inner higher self, and realizing, some people would call this your spirit or your soul, and accessing that, and then looking deep within your own consciousness and saying, well, this is who I really am, you know. And it probably isn't the masks we wear in the world, you know, our personality, the way we interrelate to people and function on a personality level. We probably experience a lot of these rays, but then a lot of the writings that I've discovered will talk about how your soul ray is really kind of like your ultimate designation as to your soul's eternal mission, if you will. That we're all assigned to a soul group, we're all assigned to a soul ray, so that we belong to a family, if you will, of people who are of that group, you know, of that ray, so that a lot of the writings will say that when we physically die, our soul, our spirit, whatever you want to call it, our eternal life source, our inner light will return as a speck of light to that ray. We are that ray. So that ultimately, when you physically die, you will actually then be absorbed back into that ray, which then would, in other words, when we close our eyes, take the big sleep, we'll know which ray we are, because that's where we'll be, and we'll belong to this group forever and ever. That is your soul family.
Well, and I would think that both on a personality level and on a soul level, it's very instructive for us to figure out what our rays are and what and how we can balance those with the other rays. This is like the best. This is great. This is like therapy. If you can pinpoint this stuff, and you can bring in, you can balance and pinpoint the aspects that you need to draw more into your life. Whether, I mean, and the soul, for the soul purpose, it's like, wow, that would really put you on the beam for, that would give you more valuable information of why you're here, and
no
who
kidding.
you
Well, that was the
merge with.
classical Greek advice was know thyself. And how do you know who you are? Ultimately, we all want to know who we are. Because if we know who we are, then we know why we're here. We know what we're supposed to be doing. We know how we're supposed to be living our lives. We know what we're supposed to be doing with our lives. We know we fit into the scheme of things. We know where we're going. If we only know ourselves, so it's like, yeah, I agree. I mean, this is like a great mystery, like we're walking through a great maze. You think of all these myths, these classical historic myths of people who are wandering, lost. They're on a journey of discovery, and they're looking to find themselves along the way, because they'll find themselves along the way, but only in living their lives. And it's like, this is probably our greatest challenge, to find out who we are. And I think ultimately we need to find out what is our soul ray. But I mean, while we're here, we're going to experience all 7 rays. And this isn't bad. Some of these rays I can't really strongly identify with. But if I'm honest with myself, I really need to understand them, and I need to work on all of those, because they're all valuable.
Do they have something to do with the chakras?
Yes. Yes. So they have to do with the chakras. They also have, you remember the preliminary information that Erica provided, they have to do with the 7 worlds, or the 7 realms. So you think of like the 7 realms of the 7 planes of existence, the mental plane, the cosmic plane, the emotional plane, the Buddhic plane, all of these planes, including up the higher spiritual planes. So all of these planes of existence, these levels of existence, represent worlds within worlds. So, and we're living in one world, but there are other worlds, and they correspond to the 7 rays. They correspond to the 7 chakras, 7 primary chakras. They correspond to the 7 subtle bodies, correspond to the 7 planes of existence. So, if you were to master one of these rays, of course, there would be a whole world that ray would open up to you that you're not necessarily experiencing.
Paula asked if they were, what about the energy that comes from the sacred planets in the chat? They must affect us also. Are they assigned rays 1 to 7? And yes, there are planets that are assigned to it. John Algio's video goes into more detail on that, which is available through the International Theosophical Society, I think.
Yeah.
It's
So
on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
You search
just
his name and then 7 rays, and just on
Yeah.
YouTube. Also, while I'm talking, I wanted to say that you can Google the 7 rays, and there's one thing that opens up. I got on one website that had a survey, a question and answer, but I think they charged for it, and I kind of backed off. I wasn't sure how much they were going to charge, But, so I think you can do a questionnaire, kind of like Myers-Briggs, where you answer questions and then but it's not, like Myers-Briggs is peer reviewed, statistically accurate. This is, who knows, you know, I mean, who knows, but it might still be a clue. And so there's a lot on the internet about figuring out your own rays, too.
Mhm. Just jumping in to say, I was going to say before that, if you'd like to comment or have a question, feel free to type it into chat as well.
I just put the link to the video, John Algio's video. He also has a list of references in the beginning too. It's a lecture that was at the Theosophical Society in Wheaton, Illinois.
Yeah. So, you know, I think people might be interested to know that when you do join the Theosophical Society, if you choose to, you would also then become a member automatically of the International, which is really big. I mean, the Theosophical Society actually is in like 37, I think, 37 countries around the world. And it's very big in India, for instance.
And then you have access to so many videos. There's so much information.
So much information.
Yeah.
So much, yeah.
Yeah, and most of that information is free.
Yeah.
Videos and things. So
Yeah, you can just access it.
Yeah.
You could just download it. Or if you want to go to, for instance, the National Library, you can peruse on subject or author or title, and you can like borrow books and they'll send them to you free, and you can mail them back, you know, at media rate. It's a very, very cheap way to get access to a wonderful metaphysical esoteric library. Probably, arguably the best in the country.
Oh, and I think I can't remember. Is it Theosophy World? There's some places, or Theosophy Wiki is also a resource, and a lot of the theosophical texts are on PDF.
Yeah.
So you don't have to. If you don't mind reading on a device, or you know, I quite honestly, if it's small enough, I print things. I print a lot of little books.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just available.
Yeah.
It's free. So they're doing a wonderful service.
So there's just a number of also, you know, lectures that have been given, like the Algio lecture series, and they're available. You know, there's an amazing series of books by Bendits. They're kind of dated. They're, you know, they looked at all of the subtle bodies, you know, the mental body, the causal body, and so forth, so on. And every they do an in-depth study of each one, you know, which also is a way of understanding how you know, the rays work through us, you know.
I have kind of a question about the rays too. I came across descriptions of them as being like sentient beings as well.
Yeah, that goes back to the Hindu idea that they're rishis, that the seven, you'll see this, they're primordial beings. They're like, in a sense, like powerful creation angels. They create and continue to create all that is, you know, so they would be just one step below the solar logos. They would be like in some of the literature, they're described as like the Dhyan Chohans, which are powerful angels. In the Hindu, they're described as the seven rishis, and they're considered actually beings.
Yeah, and also in the Kabbalah, the seven Sephiroth.
Yeah, the seven Sephiroth. Yeah. So I mean, they obviously are intelligent energy, which is a way of saying consciousness, I guess.
And it's interesting how each, I'll call it belief system, religion, has some description of 7 sources of energy, whether it's the rishis or the 7 rays or the
Or the
7
the 7 angels. Yeah, you
Yeah.
see that in a lot of early religious paintings, the 7 angels. Yeah.
I know when you were first reading the first 7, I thought, oh, these are all wonderful, and I could identify and, you know, aspire toward those. And then when you read the deficiencies, I felt like I could identify stronger with those.
Yeah.
And I felt, what did you say? There are no bad.
Yeah.
No bad rays.
Yeah.
So, you know,
It's just a way to try to come into balance with our ray. You know, we're going to experience a bit of a pendulum, you know, so it's okay.
Yeah, and I think it's a way for us to look at ourselves without being so critical. You know, we can say, oh, this is just a weakness. I'm just not strong in this spot, instead of saying, oh, I'm horrible. I'm weak in this. I'm no good. It's like, this is a place I can improve. Yay, look at this. I mean, sometimes don't we get bored with being so perfect? Sometimes we need to like look at a piece of ourselves and go, oh, yeah, this needs a little bit of work here. Okay, let's lift it up a little bit. Let's work on this.
Back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
So you think, you know,
colorful chalk.
if you know, if we're in you know, experiencing in our bodies, in our lifetimes, these rays, you know, and they seem to, as personality rays, we seem more strongly attached to some and confused by others. You know, you have to think, you know, this might be part of the spiritual evolutionary process that we're destined to experience and eventually understand all of the rays, because they're all powerful.
Mm-hmm. 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 You know, when you asked about Vaughn, the identifying our rays or trying to identify our rays, I have a sense of my soul ray and what I'm calling my personality ray. But it made me think about esoteric astrology. If any of you are interested in, sometimes through esoteric astrology or soul-centered astrology, there's a way to try to identify some of one's ray makeup through that. That's one mode or tool. Or if you know somebody who's well versed in it. I just wanted to mention that.
Well, you know, Hodson has a book, Jeffrey Hodson, that Eric had referred to. Hodson's writing on the rays, and a lot of his description of the rays are in my favorite book called A Call to the Heights. And there's several sections in A Call to the Heights by Hodson where he describes the rays. He describes the attributes, the downfalls, the weaknesses, and the safeguards, and then, you know, then he gives you toward the back of the book this correspondence chart, you know, and those of you who have studied, you know, some metaphysics, you know, these correspondence charts. So he'll say, well, if you're of this astrological sign, you know, if this is your color, if this is your note, you know, if this is your planet, you know, and he has like, this is your color. So I'll go through it here. This is your planet that you identify with. This is your syllable that you say, your musical note. Because think of the diatonic music scale that corresponds. Okay.
Yeah.
So then you say like the senses, you know. So you could like say, well, your element is your element like water or air or fire, you know, or akasha, earth. And then then your chakra your primary chakra, the tissue that's primarily in you, your glands, your embryo. It gets really complicated. Vital airs, and it's like the jewel, Are you a ruby? Are you a sapphire? So you look down this chart, you say like, bingo, bingo, bingo. A lot of these line up. It's like, oh, therefore this is who I am. It goes like the art form that you're drawn to,
Wow, that's a lot of good
a
stuff.
lot. It's really quite a chart.
And I like that the astrology in there.
Yeah, and then you got charismatic magic. So it goes like devotion, not descriptive of a temperament, Raja Yoga, alchemy, allurement and charms, astrology, magnetic forces, ritual, Hatha Yoga. Then the healing method, faith, healing by faith, healing by pranic or magnetic healing.
Wow.
Invoking Buddha, drugs, surgery, Dianetics he's got in here. Go Dianetics. Okay.
Yeah.
Harmonization, mantras, angels, natural cures, massage, talismans, invoking. So he's got symbols, you can find that there's actually a symbol that is the 7 rays he's got in here. It's cool. It's like a starburst with a circle in the middle, I guess that's the solar logos. But then you've got the cross and you've got the pentagram and you've got the triangle. And then religion. You say, which religion are you? Christian, Islam, sun worship, Buddhism, Zoroastrianism, Egyptian, Freemasonry, Orphic, Chaldean, Hinduism, ceremonial aspects of all religions. So you say like, you can go through this chart and you say, wow, I'm primarily this ray. But, because if these things seem to kind of align. I don't know how he came up with this chart. I mean, these people like Algeo and Hodgson, they spend a lot of time thinking about this, as some of our group has done.
Well,
and then you read a lot, and then you think like, wow, it's all kind of coming together. If you're this kind of person, you're this kind of ray. But that's probably really true.
They must not have babies to take care of.
They have no babies. Yes, and they have no time to fix their hair.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Boy, does that seem like a great reference to kind of just go through and see what you resonate with and see what pops out the most. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it seems to kind of work, but it's like really and truly, we're all of that. We're all more than the sum of our parts. We're all complicated. We're all sons and daughters of light, and we absorb, process, and transmit all of this light as intelligent energy, and all of it flows through us. And I think it's a challenge to understand all of the primordial powers and energy that's going through us. I mean, with reference to Blavatsky in her book Isis Unveiled, I mean, she was really intrigued by the idea that the rays come down and as some mysterious power would impact our lives and drive and sustain our lives and all of life, not just us, every living thing, and what it means to us. And what it means to us, I suppose, don't you imagine, is that we are all part of the light. We are light. We just happen to walk around with these funny bodies that we've hopefully through Stairmaster and a lot of good walking, trained to be efficient machines. But inside of that is the light.
It's so weird that just this week, and with all the material out there, I just saw online that reference to Hodgson's. They said in the back of the book, this is just online now. I wasn't looking at it.
Oh, yeah. It's cool.
When they said he had symbols, I got all excited.
Oh, yeah. It's really incredible.
Yeah, but I didn't. So I went to the end of the PDF online and I saw the symbols, but I did not see everything you referred to. So I can't wait to look at the rest of it.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
was so into the symbols because I guess I kind of resonate with symbols.
Oh, yeah, the symbols.
That's
But
what-
the
for the symbols.
study of the seven rays gets really complicated, in putting this thing together. I know a number of us looked at the writings of Alice Bailey. Goodness, she wrote like 3 huge volumes, really,
Yeah.
that focus on understanding the rays, the seven rays is
Yeah.
fundamental to
Yeah.
who we are and why we're here.
I just,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh,
go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say, I just, it's so much more, it's so much more deep and vast than I thought it was. Yeah, than I thought it was. Taking it on was kind of interesting because, for one thing, I didn't realize how much material I had in different books around me. So I've got books scattered everywhere to, gather pieces here and there, listening to all of these different things. People have slightly different interpretations, but it's like you could just study and study nothing but the rays, probably for the rest of your life or your entire life. And
We'd never get bored.
Yeah, this
It
is
might be
true.
very worthwhile because it's beginning to dawn on me that this is the most important thing we'll ever grasp.
Mm.
Mhm. I just want to interrupt, sorry for a second, to say it's 8:32, so I just wanted to
Oh, yeah.
officially conclude, but if some want to stay on to chat a little more, I think that's,
Yeah, and we
welcome to.
haven't heard from everybody, so we don't mean to.
Right, but I
We
just
would
want to
love to hear
officially,
from everyone.
yeah, I
but-
just want to officially,
We also don't want to hold you back because we had a scheduled starting and stopping point, and it's
Right.
only fair to say we're officially over.
right,
Those of you who want to stay, please
Kaylee, are
stay.
you leaving us? Bye.
yeah.
Bye-bye.
And
Bye,
I-
anyone. Thank you, whoever is about to leave. Thank
gonna
you for
take off.
coming this
And a
evening.
special thank you
Thank
to
you.
Erica for, my
Oh.
goodness, that was wonderful. And I love all your photos.
Erica, that was
Oh, thank
beautiful.
you.
Thank
What a
you
great
very much.
start.
Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you so
It
much.
was
Thank you.
wonderful.
Appreciate it. Thank you. It was fun.
Okay, so we're
Thank you.
officially concluded, but stay on if you'd like.
So just looking ahead, each of the 3 programs will of course be on the 7 rays, but we'll look at it, more in depth and in different ways in each of the 3 programs. So, everything that's been said here will just, kind of further evolve down the road in the next 2 programs.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'll just say a little bit because I'm doing next week, and I'm going to look more into mythology and symbols because in fact I got just the symbol idea is like, yeah, why am I not looking at symbols? But I had also already had some symbolic images and things we all kind of know. We're gonna go over the rainbow this next
Over the
next-
rainbow.
We're going over the rainbow.
Oh, yeah.
That's a teaser.
Oh,
That's a little teaser.
That's
So
right.
we're going over the rainbow next week.
Well, who doesn't want to go over the rainbow? I'm there.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So I can tell you a little about the third one. We'll look at how the 7 rays impact us as creative forces and how we must ask ourselves then how this affects us in our lives and the big concerns of our lives. 1, who am I? 2, why am I here? 3, what is my life mission and my destiny? 4, how do I fit in the big picture of divine creation? So we'll look at, we are light and extension. We have a mission. We're part of a ray of all creation.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be fun. We're
Yeah.
gonna have 3 really good programs. So please come back if you can. And if you miss any of them, they'll be recorded. You can go and find them.